Welcome back to the front office. Time now to check in with our major partner here. I'm talking about TopSport, of course, topsport.com.au. They call him the CEO, they call him the director. Apparently he likes being called the number one seed up there at TopSport. He's going to give us all the inside mail about what's going to be a massive weekend of sport. And I've got to start this way, Tristan Merlehan, by saying well done on getting a correct scoreline in your first NFL prediction last week. What was it, 17-14 the Browns? Well done, sir.
Yeah, 17-14, a good way to start. And as they say, a broken clock's right twice a day. So it was good to get off to a start on the front office. And let's see if we can find a few winners for the listeners today as well.
Massive day of racing on Saturday, of course, in Sydney and in Melbourne, the traditional Derby day down there. What about the Derby, mate? We've got two standouts here. Have you been able to separate them at TopSport just yet?
Yeah, this is my favourite day of the year. We've got 9 group races on Derby Day at Flemington. And out of the last 15 years, only 2 favourites have won the Derby. So I'm looking for a way to oppose both of these runners. Forget You is the $4.40 favourite. Gunstock is $4.60. Both of these have been on the drift. There's been a little bit of support for a lot of the runners at wider odds already. And if we have a look at the run of Gunstock here, which is going to pop up on the screen, I'm going to tell you why we're looking forward to take on a couple of these runners. Gunstock was, if you look at the TV here, in the white colours, it comes out a bit wide and it wins this race very, very impressively. However, this is a slow 7. It finds the best part of the track by some margin, and it draws away and it wins ultra impressively. But the thing I don't like about it here is that it veers in on the leader, and then it swishes its tail, and it looks to me like I'm uncertain it's going to get that 2,500 metres. This is a 2,000 metre race. It's got to get an extra 500, and whilst it looks good there, it's drawing away. This is a Group 3 race. I think when it has to go up in class, I'm a little bit uncertain whether it gets that trip. I'm certainly looking to take it on at the $4.60 quote. So that brings us to a few of the other runners in the race. And the one I really like at a little bit of value is a horse called Jungle Mandate. It's been $26 into 18. The punters have really found this runner. It's been very, very well backed, along with a few of the other roughies in the race. And the reason why is that it went around in a Group 2 a couple of weeks ago at Moonee Valley. And it's the little short straight there at the Valley doesn't suit this horse. I think it's going to be a really big chance once it gets to Flemington, the big wide open straight. And I really like the chance of it staying the extra 500 metres and getting into the race really, really well. The other favourite in the race is Forgot You, and it was in the same race as Jungle Mandate. It actually won the race at even money. If we have a look here, the favourite of the race, Forgot You, is in the dark blue silks, and Jungle Mandate's in the light green coming around. It actually has a bump there at the top of the straight. But if you look at this, it veers in behind the favourite, Forgot You. And I don't think it gets clear running. I think when it gets to the wide open straights of Flemington, it's going to really give itself the best possible chance of finishing home over the top. And at $18, I think it's worth a little play each way compared to the $4.40 and the $4.60 of Forgot You and and Gunstock.
Yeah, it looks like the market's found it a little bit there with 26 into 18. So might be following some smart money there, Tristan. Melbourne Cup Day, of course, on Tuesday, the race that stops the nation. I know you're going to be very busy for that. There's a very short favourite incentivised after an incredible Caulfield Cup win. You couldn't oppose the Caulfield Cup winner, could you, Tristan?
Well, we've got to find a way. There hasn't been a favourite win this race at $2.40 or less since the Great Farlap in 1930, which I think you just turned 21 in that year, Jimmy. So it's been $91 into $2.40. You would have been happy getting the $91. Now, that was back in June. It was only a few months ago. Something for all of racehorse owners out there. This horse took 4 starts to win a maiden. It was 0-4, took 4 starts to win its maiden, and now it's the shortest price favourite in the Melbourne Cup since Farlap in 1930. For those reasons, I'm happy to take it on. It's never won past 2,500 metres. Now, if we have a look at the Caulfield Cup vision here, where it was 4 deep coming into the bend, it was 5 wide coming to the bend, it was absolutely going out of the bend the first time. Now, have a look at this vision here. Brett Peverill sitting on the outside here. He finds his way across. He doesn't panic. This is all well and good in the Caulfield Cup. It's 2,400 metres. It's got to get an extra 800 in the 2 mile. Now, have a look at this. Now, this was why it's so short, because it was so dominant in this race. However, what we don't see past this vision is it actually gets one off the fence as it gets around this first bend. Now, have a look at the dominant fashion it wins this race. It absolutely blows this field away. It's an absolute superstar, and I think it's deserved favourite. It very much warrants being the favourite in this race. However, when you look at this runner compared to some of the other horses it's going to come up against, at $2.40, I'm willing to oppose it. I think there's some other chances in the race. I think it's a touch too short. This was an absolute flashing light run, And I think there's some value to be had with some of the other runners in this race. If we have a look at the second favourite in the race, Spanish Mission, $5. It's one of the, it's an overseas horse. It's come over having its first start in Australia. A horse like Charlie Rose, the Geelong Cup winner, $16. But the one I look for at a little bit of value for punters looking to speculate a touch here is Mancayan, 151 into 91. Now, it's not in the field yet. It's got to win its race on Saturday, the Hotham, which is race 2. The problem with this horse is that it's yet to win, and it's coming from Ireland. But if you have a look at the run, it was absolutely barnstorming first up here over the 1600 at Flemington. If you have a look at there, the blue silks on the outside, it absolutely flashes at this leader. It's got to step up in distance today to the 2400, but just look at the closing 100 that this horse puts in. It was an absolutely enormous run. And I just think at $3.50 on Saturday, if it wins, it's going to start less than 20 to 1 in the Melbourne Cup. I think it represents really, really good value for punters out there wishing to speculate and have a little play at really wide odds to oppose the favourite.
I may or may not have been able to get a glimpse of the rundown a little bit earlier. So go Mancayan is all I'm saying for the Hotham on Saturday. Let's go to week 8 of the NFL. You're in great form here, so long may it continue. We've got a Friday morning game, our time, of course. Thursday night footy, it's a beauty as well. It's the Packers up against the Cardinals. Cardinals 7-0, Packers 6-1, but we've got plenty of outs here. Tristan, what are you tipping?
I'm a little bit surprised at the price of the Packers. It's $3.40 the Packers, $1.35 Arizona on the line, 6.5 and a flat 50. That line's moved from 3.5 out to 6.5. We've got no Devontae Adams for the Packers. We've got a number of the other wideouts that are out. But the one that's probably flown under the radar, in my view, is JJ Watts. He's out for the Cardinals as well. So I think that brings the Packers into this game. All the money's all over Arizona. But, geez, when you've got Aaron Rodgers out there, $3.40, he is an absolute superstar. He's someone that can find any player on the field at any given time. I think this is an opportunity for him to go to another level in this game, to prove the doubters from the preseason wrong. If you have a look at that play there, he's found a wide-open Devontae Adams. Any wide receiver in that spot is able to score from there, I believe. I just think at $3.40, they're actually 6-0 when Devontae Adams hasn't played in the last three years, and they've beaten some good sides. They've beaten the Saints, they've beaten Kansas City, and they've beaten the Falcons. So they've all been high-scoring games, which also makes me look at the Arizona side of things. When we spoke last week, Jimmy, we tipped them up in the Super Bowl race. They were 20 to 1 back then. They're now $9.50 or $10 to win the Super Bowl. That's 1 week later. They beat Houston. Houston are one of the worst sides in the NFL, and they've gone from 20 to 1 into $10. They've gone from, in my view, underrated to very overrated, or not overrated, but about the right number. So at the $1.35, I think they represent a little bit of unders here. And if you have a look at this vision involving Kyler Murray, he's not going to be able to do this against the top-class sides. He was playing against Houston there, and he had to zig and zag and avoid a lot of pressure in the pocket. He gets away from a couple of defenders. He gets through, and then he throws an absolute Hail Mary. Now, it's interesting to watch what DeAndre Hopkins does after he catches this ball, because this was a phenomenal play. And he may do this again, but at $1.33 or $1.35, I'm willing to oppose it. I just think if you have a look at DeAndre here, when he finishes taking this ball, he has a big smile on his face, like, how did he do that? So I just think this game represents a lot of value for the Packers. I think the overs is a big chance as well. With no JJ Watt, if Arizona jump out and get to a lead, we know that the Packers are going to throw the ball around, and we know there's going to be plenty of points on the offering. And the number's gone from 53.5 down to 50.5 with no wideouts there. But let's not forget Aaron Jones put 4 touchdowns up earlier in the year, 3 of those receiving touchdowns. So I think this game represents a bit of value for the plus and a bit of value for the overs.
If I spent all that money on my teeth too, I'd be smiling a lot as well. So fair enough. I learned something about Kyler Murray today. He's the only person in the history of US sports that's been a first-round pick in 2 different sports, NFL and Major League Baseball. So you can see why the arm is so important, a phenomenal arm. What about the Titans? They've got the Colts in a game on, Sunday, Monday morning our time. What do you like here, Tristan?
This game, I think, is a funny one. The Titans have been a side that's knocked off the Chiefs. They've beaten the Bills in the last 2 weeks. And every time they win, they become a better price. The Titans are now $2.05. They're $1.80 early in the week. They're $2.05. The Colts $1.80, and the line's 1.5. Total points 51. There is a bit of doubt over a bit of the Titans' defence, but they kept the Kansas City Chiefs to 3 points last week, and they're going up against the side in the Colts that I'm not convinced Carson Wentz is going as well as everyone seems. He had a great second half there last week, but in the first half he threw a pick, one of the worst picks I've seen for a while. He absolutely panicked, and then he had 3 other throws there where they could have been picked. If you see this one here on the screen, he's thrown this wide open to the San Francisco defence. That was attacking the line. That should have seen them hit the front, and they weren't able to do so. He did bounce back in the second half, and he showed that he could rush and he could do his thing. But the problem was, if 3 of those defensive plays had been converted, they would have been down by 20 points. He wouldn't have the confidence to be able to go out there and do this and lead his side home to a victory. In my opinion, when you've got a side like the Titans, when they've got so much class all around the field, they're not going to give him the opportunity to make these mistakes. They're going to capitalise. We saw our man Derrick Henry, what he did last week. We talked him up last week about his 100-plus yard rushing game, nearly every game for the last few weeks. He scored 10 touchdowns in the last 5 games. He didn't score a rushing touchdown on the weekend, but what he did was he threw for one. And if we have a look here, look at this. This is 0-0 in this game. It's not a junk time play. This is 0-0 against one of the best sides in the comp, and he finds a receiver, a trick play, to put themselves 7 points up in this game. In a game they were $3.50 underdogs. They're such a well-coached side. They're going to have a plan for this game. Don't forget the Titans are 5-2 compared to the Colts, who are 3-4. If they win this game, they go well clear in their division. I cannot understand why the underdogs. I think they win this game. I think they win it well.
How awkward did Derrick Henry look there just throwing that ball? I don't think he's got a baseball background. All right, T20 World Cup is on in earnest. We're all excited about that. Time slot's not great, but the cricket lovers here in Australia are a bit bleary-eyed the next morning. That'll happen tonight too, because Australia's taking on Sri Lanka. You guys have got stacks of markets for it here. Which is the one that stood out for you, Tristan?
Yeah, this game's really exciting. We've got 260 markets on every single one of the cricket matches in the World Cup. Now, the Aussies go into this game at $1.35 favourites against Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's been conceding a lot of runs. So what I've looked at is I've gone for the 2 blokes in Australia that are under the most pressure, David Warner and Aaron Finch. It's a head-to-head matchup. We've got batting matchups for a heap of the batsmen in this side. Now, Davey Warner's 204 against Aaron Finch, who's $1.73. I think our traders might have this one wrong. I think Davey Warner should be favourite. He's just coming off his birthday. We know how people bounce back after their birthday after the last week you've had, Jimmy. And I really think that he's going to put on some runs here. The thing I like about David in this matchup is that if they bat first, he's got a really good record against Sri Lanka. His highest average in international cricket is against Sri Lanka in the T20 format, where he averages over 50. You can see here he's putting them to the sword earlier in the year back on Aussie soil. I know he hasn't been in good form. We know that. But he scored 13 runs there, which doesn't look great on paper, but he put 3 boundaries away. He looked very, very good for that 13, which is tough to say. He edged one going for it. Finch, on the other hand, has looked very scratchy as well. However, in my view, he's the sort of player that's going to try to bat himself back into a bit of form. He's going to take a bit of time. So even if the Aussies bat second and they are chasing a low score, which I think is on the cards, I see David Warner coming out here really trying to put them to the sword early. Aaron Finch trying to chip away, get his 20-30 not out and chase down a score. So I think regardless of if the Aussies bat first or if the Sri Lankans bat first, David Warner v Finch, I think Warner should be a lot shorter than what he is.
Yeah, interesting reading in newspapers around Australia today suggesting that David Warner is full of confidence, which I think anyone who's known David for a long time could have told you that a long time ago. Hey Tristan, great start in week 1. Let's hope it's the same in week 2. I'm sure it will be. I know you've got a very busy weekend and appreciate you joining us on the front office, mate.
Thanks for that. Great. Looking forward to the week ahead. Everyone out there having a punt, make sure you back a few winners. It is the biggest week in racing all year. We've got Derby Day Saturday, Cup Day Tuesday, Oaks Thursday, and then Stakes Day. It is an enormous week coming up, and go well anyone having a bet.